Hello and welcome back to Study More Hygiene. In today's video, I want to talk about Sickles scalers, and we'll start with general design characteristics. A Sickles scaler is a periodontal instrument used to remove calculus deposits from crowns of the teeth. Sickles scalers are confined to supragingival use and should not be used on root surfaces. So these are areas above the gum line. Sickle scalers are available in either anterior or posterior designs. So an anterior sickle scaler are limited to use on anterior treatment sextants. Often they are single-ended instruments because only one working end is needed to instrument the crowns of the anterior teeth. It is common, however, to combine two different anterior sickles on a double-ended instrument. So again, we have our anterior sickle here. And then posterior sickle scalers are designed for use on posterior sextants, but they also may be used on anterior teeth. Usually, two posterior sickles are paired on a double-ended instrument. For example, a 3-4 jaquette paired with a 3-5 jaquette. So again, I have a 204S here, so it's for periodontal, or for posterior use, excuse me. So we have the mirror ends there. So let's look at the working end of a sickle scaler has several unique design characteristics. So it has a pointed back. Some newer sickle scalers designs have working ends with rounded backs. A pointed tip, triangular cross section, two cutting edges per working end, so 1, 2. And a face perpendicular to the lower shank. So the face is perpendicular to the lower shank. So I just want to go to this picture here. So again, we have the cross section of the instrument of a sickle. So you can see it is a triangle, and both cutting edges are on either side of that triangle. So we have the lower shank makes a perpendicular to the face of the instrument. So we have that, again showing those cutting edges. So the triangular cross-section design limits the use to above the gingival margin because a pointed tip and back could cause tissue trauma. The working end has a pointed back and tip with two cutting edges per working end. The face of the sickle scaler is perpendicular to the lower shank so that the cutting edges are level with one another. Level cutting edges means that the lower shank must be tilted slightly towards the tooth surface to establish the correct angulation. So for application, anterior teeth only single-ended an instrument is needed, while posterior teeth one double-ended instrument is needed. The primary functions, removal of medium to large size supragingival calculus deposits, excellent for calculus removal on proximal surfaces of anterior crowns, enamel surfaces apical to the contact areas of posterior teeth. And again, these are not recommended to use on root surfaces. So let's move forward and show you some examples of sickle scalers in action. So I'll just remove this. We'll start with our anterior sickle scaler. So again, we have our sickle used for anteriors. We would place it on the tooth and angle it and make slow motions towards the tooth. So again, you would do all the surfaces towards or surfaces away from you. On both sides of the mouth on the anterior. So those are all surfaces towards you. Now we'll flip the instrument, we'll do surfaces away. So we'll go the other way. Again, small working strokes, trying to follow around the tooth surface. So let's try that again on the facial of these teeth. So again, we would do small working strokes, turning. Go again here. Here. And again, these are only used above the gum line. It's important to remember. So that was our anterior sickle. This is a H67. So let's move into our posterior sickle. This is our 204S. That's very common. So we would take that instrument, place it at the center of the tooth, and again make those small working strokes, staying above the gum line. Go the other way. And I have a nice strong fulcrum on the tooth in front. And go towards the distal. And that's our posterior sickle being used. Some things I just want to remind you is that our sickles are used to remove the medium to large supragingival calculus deposits from crowns of posterior teeth. The pointed tip provides good access to proximal surfaces apical to the contact areas of posterior teeth. And again, sickles are not to be used to remove buildup on root surfaces. So some basic concepts to go over. Tilt the lower shank slightly towards the tooth surface to establish the correct face-to-tooth surface angulation. Maintain adaptation of the tip third of the cutting edge to the tooth surface. Before initiating a calculus removal stroke, press down with your fulcrum finger and apply pressure against the instrument handle with the index finger and thumb to create lateral pressure against the tooth surface. Activate the calculus removal stroke using wrist motion activation, relaxing the fingers between each calculus removal stroke.